welcome back to Mars Day with Mark 131. It's Mr. Meyer with the fire, here to take the collective vibration higher. And it's 12 on the dot. You see what we got? Divine timing, divine rhyming. Welcome back. This is the week, December 16 until the 23rd. And I hope you've been well. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to look at the screen right in front of me as I tell you about the transits. Today we start with the sun at 24 degrees of Sagittarius. The moon is waning through Scorpio. The new moon hits on Thursday. We've got Mercury traveling at 5 degrees of Sagittarius. Venus is at 19 degrees of Sagittarius. Mars, fresh into Capricorn, 0 degrees. We've got Jupiter at 23 Cancer in a retrograde. We've got Saturn at 25 Pisces. Uranus in Taurus at 28 degrees, retrograde. Neptune at 29 Pisces, and Pluto at 2 degrees of Aquarius. The North Node is at 13 degrees of Pisces, which of course puts the South Node at 13 degrees of Virgo. And do you folks see the Black Moon Lilith at 29 degrees of Scorpio? That's crazy. So next week, the 23rd, Lilith switches signs, 0 degrees of Sagittarius. We have a lot of action this week, Fire Family, a lot of news. So we're going to break it down. The sun moves to 1 degree of Capricorn. The moon will pass new, collect $200. Let's go. It'll be waxing through Aquarius at the end of the week. We'll see Mercury move to 15 degrees of Sagittarius. This is outside of the post-retrograde shadow. Get excited. There we go. I felt like I needed some percussion for that. Like maybe I should get the bell next time. 15 degrees of Sagittarius. Ding, 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 ding. This is really a good thing, Fire Family. I want to speak on fire for a second, man. Core values. I've been thinking a lot. Speaking of Mercury and Sagittarius, I've been philosophizing and strategizing and analyzing my life. And I was thinking about core values and the elements. And I was thinking, what does fire really mean, Fire Family? What does this personify? What are we here? Let's talk about it. The word I got was enthusiasm. So you got to chickadee check yourself sometimes before you rickety wreck yourself. I had to realize, I was going through those degrees right there, man, that this is fucking amazing. And if you guys are feeling what I'm saying, you see, now we're tuning into the spirit of Sagittarius. This is what I'm talking about. This is the travel. Oh, it just takes a minute sometimes with that retrograde to get things back on track, okay? We got Venus at 28 degrees of Sag, so it's a Venus-Sag week. Mars, on the other hand, Fire Family, moves to something else, to Capricorn. Okay, so we have some news. Jupiter, on the other hand, really only moves about a degree. Saturn is in the same degree. Uranus as well, so the same as Neptune, Pluto. You know, we're going to break it down, and I set the intention that I really articulate these transits and the theme energetically of this week with detail and make this relatable, something that you can feel, that you can take home to the bank, that puts things in perspective for where we really are. Okay, so there is a lot of change this week, and I usually like to follow the planets kind of in their order because they each have their own rate as far as cycle goes. So we can focus on the minute, then we can kind of expand our perspective as we go. Today, Fire Family, beautiful day. I'm going to put the chart back on clock. So this is like the exact time for those that are watching the video. We're in the 24th degree of Sagittarius, over halfway through. This week, we go through this shift. This is going to be the winter solstice. Turning the wheel, for real. Depending on your hemisphere, it might not be winter. It could be summer. The summer solstice. But, you know, things are about to get cold. We're finishing up the fall season. Sagittarius is a mutable sign. It's a lot about the change. And if you want to think about this in a more mundane, that's the holiday season. That's the spirit of travel, getting around, and seeing things from a big perspective. This is Jupiter. So you see, this is where we celebrate our holidays, our rites of passage. There's even that philosophical outlook to Sagittarius. This is all about the big picture right now. And if you think about the month of December, just in the terms of the 12 months, this is where we start to kind of analyze the past and the whole year in retrospect, and we start looking towards resolution. In this transition from Sag to Cap, this is fire to earth, mutable to cardinal. So now we're thinking about building, using, structuring. For a lot of people, Capricorn really marks the start of the year. And calendars are a really crazy thing because ultimately that's a human construct, right? So that suggests that you could actually make your own calendar. And on the same spectrum of thought, Fire Family, I really do love astrology in the sense that when you look at your personal planets and how the solar system moves through your chart, you kind of do have a personal calendar. And I really like that. In the book of your life, you can read it if you know how to see the data. So that's what I'm geeked up about, why I like this so much. So do look into your chart. If it's news to you that you have a chart, make sure you grab Simplified Astrology. I wrote that for you, or you can get that in the link down below. Capricorn is the goat. The goat. That's you, by the way. Everybody has Capricorn in their chart and those stars in the sky when you're born. And that's really the climb. Because what do goats do, Fire Family, besides eat everything? You guys ever seen a goat? Ever worked with a goat? A goat will eat everything, fam. They'll eat your house. They'll eat your clothes. They will eat all the grass. They will eat everything, fam. That's one thing about goats. I don't know if you know. Goats will also climb things. Usually see those like mountain goats climbing up a wall that's almost vertical. They still manage to do it. So when we talk about this archetype of Capricorn, the goat, the mountain, this symbol talks about ambition, your directive, your legacy, your sense of duty. What's your climb? What's your mission? What's the quest right now, man? That's really what it's about, put things in bigger perspective. And sometimes maybe that's what the mountain symbolizes, just going to higher ground so you can really see things a little bit more fresh. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm seeing. So that's really the theme of the week, guys. But if you look at this a little more deep, and I teach this framework in Simplified Astrology, the signs, the houses, and then the aspects. And in this case, we don't really get to pay too much attention to the houses unless you really put your personal chart here. So when we talk about the aspects of the sun this week, guys, there's some really interesting ones, and I want to point them out to you. And I'm going to move this chart day by day as we go through this. So this is Tuesday. It's really like Monday night, but I'm with it this time. I'm right on the dot. So boom, this is Tuesday's chart, 24 Sag. Tomorrow, guys, 25 Sag. Do you see the pattern here? The next day, 26. Okay, boom. So that's a mutable sign, you see? So what else is in the mutable signs? Do you remember? A little pop quiz. See if you're paying attention. I'll tell you the answer, but we're talking about the aspects now, right? See if you guys are catching on. We've got Saturn. Remember, we've got Saturn at 25 Pisces. So when we get to the logic and the science of astrology, here's what's really going on right now. The sun and Saturn are square this week. They're at a 90-degree angle in the 360 wheel. So for real, this gives us some action, something to talk about. Let me know down below in the comments if you have a Sun-Saturn aspect in your chart. I have the square. I have this. So let me tell you, sources, me. I'm going to tell you about this. The Sun and Saturn square, it is an event we get twice a year because every two planets have a cycle. Saturn has about a 30-year orbit around the sun. The sun, we'll see it move around our chart once a year if we do a geocentric chart, which is what this is. So if you guys are tracking what I'm saying, the point is that every year this Sun-Saturn cycle comes with a conjunction and a square and an opposition and another square, and then a new cycle begins. That's the year. This is what I was talking about when I said everybody kind of has their own calendar. And when you look at the astrology, you can actually look at different timetables and time frames. It's really cool. So anyway, what does this mean? You might be asking. Oh man, this got me on the edge of my seat. Sun square to Saturn is turning lead to gold. Okay, I'm going to start cryptic and rhymey and esoteric, and then maybe we can get more specific as we go. But this is about transfiguration. This is about changing yourself. The sun is life. You got to break this down separately, put them together to see how that aspect works. But the sun is our life force. It's our personality. It's our journey. It's our energy. And then you've got Saturn, which is a lot more far out. And a lot of people, I find, kind of have a harder time deciphering what Saturn really means in their chart because it is, again, so far out. It's really the frame of reality. It's how you exist. It can be so wide and so deeply embedded within your life, it's kind of hard to notice. And especially right now with this in the sign of Pisces, we have to go inside of ourselves to really find its effect. Okay? Hope you're tracking. We're still kind of far out. So Saturn deals with things like paradigm, worldview, perspective. This is the planet of restriction and obligation and responsibility. You know, Saturn makes things real. It helps us build something tangible. The most important fact to know about Saturn is this is the final planet that we can see without a telescope. Like you could point at it in the sky and it looks like a pretty big star, but that is one of those planets. Okay. So essentially, this planet is the ruler of Capricorn, and it's cold, it's unrelenting, it's serious, but it's real and reliable. You can depend on it. It's always there in the sky. All right. So when we talk about the ego qualities and the self kind of being challenged by Saturn, this square, there is change that needs to happen within our personal lives. Ultimately, the pressure is to level up, to raise your standards, to evolve. There's a lot of ways to look at this, honestly, and I think a big part of astrology is learning how to kind of take your personal biases out of it, see things more objectively. Again, I have this personally, so that is some form of bias, but I see that this is about working hard on yourself, raising your standards, right? This is about going hard. This is about taking life a little more serious, taking yourself a little bit more serious. Sometimes that's the challenge too, Fire Family, where if you take yourself too serious, you start to get hard on yourself. And if you have like a low estimation of self-worth or you see yourself negatively, that creates its own type of pessimism, right? And that just makes life harder to deal with, you know? So ultimately, there is a transfiguration, and I feel like the spirit of the sun really is the consciousness of love on some level. So to step up the love, to make our love a little more real in some way, shape, or form. If you want to look at this from a linguistic perspective, as far as astrology goes and keywords, you see this is the ego and the fear kind of getting in each other's way. And that could indicate that self-control is overdone and that things are pessimistic. So, you know, having a good attitude is really key with the Sun square Saturn, is creating yourself and overcoming fear, being willing to love, and putting in the work on yourself and demonstrating self-love with action and love for others with action. Okay. And we have another aspect this week, guys. So after the sun breaks the square with Saturn, and keep in mind, it takes the sun about a day to move 1 degree. So if you keep a really tight orb, this aspect only lasts about 3 days or so. But, you know, for those that are really tuning into this energy deeper, you know, it may last, you may perceive it for about a week, you know, moving in and out of this sun Saturn square. So just keep in mind that this is kind of how we kick off episode 131, the 16th through the, what was it? The 23rd. So right after Saturn, we get Neptune. All right. So on Sunday, you're going to see the sun making a square to Neptune as well. So where we start the next week, for the most part, we're going to be in the water, the deep water, the ocean. You know, Neptune is even further out, Fire Family. And I really want to take the time to talk about these because it's really important as far as how we experience this week. You'll see that as we turn from Sag to Cap and the sun makes these really interesting aspects, you're going to feel these planets in the quality of the sun. All right. That might sound geeked, but let me tell you, fam, Neptune is the planet of dreams, and it's really about how we perceive the world spiritually. And you know, that's far out as it can get. Neptune moves with the culture. Neptune is the dream that we really have as a people. And that's something to think about. But this is the quality of disillusion and how we spiritualize or relate to something more universal. Neptune dissolves and it disfigures and it transcends. And this is that Pisces quality, Fire Family. Neptune's home right now. And I want to make another video before the end of the year to really talk about 2026, because if you guys are seeing the degrees here, we have big changes going on. Neptune moving signs. Pluto's already in the couple first degrees of its sign. You've got Uranus moving to Gemini next year. You've got Saturn moving signs. You've got so many things switching on a higher time frame. It's beautiful. It's interesting. It's exciting. Okay. So when it comes to Neptune this week, at the end of the week, as we start the next week, you may find yourself deeply emotional, very sensitive, extremely out there, man. That's the best way I can put it. It's the really interesting paradox of this conjunction. And we'll see this as we move forward, Fire Family. You don't really see too much movement here, but keep in mind that, you know, with Saturn moving faster than Neptune, these two planets are going to connect. I think a really interesting way to look at this chart is a clock with about 10 arms, all moving at different degrees or rates of speed. So, same way a clock on the wall has those two hands, and every now and then the hands are going to meet up like two race cars on a track going at different speeds. But there's 10 hands on this clock, Fire Family. So I'm telling you, pay attention to Saturn and Neptune as we go through the beginning of 2026, because these two are traveling together, and eventually Saturn's going to pass over Neptune as they both move into Aries. All right. So essentially what that means, and I know this is a leap from the sun, is to take the spiritual world and make it real. Take the Neptune, make it Saturn, you know, and understand your sacrifice to, you know, have a true visceral sense of spirituality, all types of stuff like that. You know, you can ponder on that for ages, but let's get back to the inner planets. The moon is going new this week, guys. So really do pay attention to this. That's Thursday. That's before the Neptune square. Okay. It's after the Saturn square, but before the Neptune square, Thursday. Tune in. Am I bugging? Let me move the chart. I think I might be tripping. Hold up. Let me not give you guys misinformation. Let me double check. It's Friday. Friday night, actually. Sometimes you got to think before you speak. Maybe that's a message with Mercury Sagittarius. I'm taking the blame for that, though. I'm not blaming Mercury. Okay. It was Friday. Lock in, twin. Lock in. You see, nobody's perfect, but we gotta do better. Because what if somebody took that and didn't hear me corrected? They ran with it. Ugh. Hopefully it wouldn't be life or death. Okay, this is the new moon. Let me lock it in. Friday night. Friday night, guys. We've got the new moon in Sagittarius. The lunar cycle begins. We turn a whole new chapter. So the moon is on triple goddess this week. And what that really means is that she's gonna start waning, hit that new moon, start waxing. Beautiful. And there's really two modes of the triple goddess. You know, you've got the upper and the underworld. She's on underworld time this week, guys. So that's what you need to know about the moon, is if you're looking for her, she might not really be there because she's on her journey. Oh, she's there all right, but you know she's going to dark mode. Okay? So what does that mean for you and me? Fire family? Oh, I'm so glad you asked. So glad you asked. Take a deep breath. Like real deep. In through the nose, slow, and out through the mouth. What it means is it's time for new beginnings. It's time for new intentions. It's time for you to look froggy and leap. You feel me? In the past, I don't know how many episodes, I was setting the intention to make this 25 minutes each time, just so I don't end up yapping you guys' ears off. But like today, maybe it is Mercury Sag. I just felt that I wanted to yap, or to take my time rather, and actually get all the information in that I want to get in, because sometimes I'd find at 25 minutes, I still have 10 other things I want to talk about, and I'm like rushing to end the video before 25 minutes. But I'm not going to yap too much, but let's continue. Let's say this one might be a little bit longer. The new moon is about you dreaming. In this case, keep in mind this sun moon conjunction, which is the new moon fire family, a new beginning, is squaring up with Neptune and Saturn. You know, the focus is really pushed towards us to build something meaningful, to build something spiritual. The new moon reflects a cycle which lasts about 30 days. You know, about 28 if you want to get more precise. So what we do this month is all up to us, man, and every action has a reaction that kind of reverberates for eternity, basically. But when it comes to this one, it's about having our target. It's about having a focus. Okay. And truly, I think with Mars in the sign of Capricorn, which we'll talk about in a second, it's going to be pretty easy to know what it is that you want. Direction is pretty clear at this point. It's just about what do you have to give in order to get what you want. Set the goals, be simple, and then just get after it. That's what this one is about. If you really want to think about the theme of Sagittarius on top of it, this is really about expanding your horizons. The word is big, fire family. Whatever it is that we're doing is big. Okay? Doing things in a big way. Expansion, not contraction, it's expansion. All right? So let's move through the inner planets, because ultimately you will want to see where this new moon falls inside of your chart, the house. Be mindful of where you have Sagittarius. And if you have planets in fire signs at the really late degrees or within the mutable signs, pay attention to those, because they're going to be activated by your new moon in whatever house it happens to be in. Be mindful. Be mindful, fire family. Let's talk about the planets. We've got Mercury moving through Sag this week. This is beautiful, but do keep in mind, fire family, that Mercury is considered to be debilitated within Sagittarius. Why? Because its home is in Gemini. We're going to go deep into this today with the moon in Scorpio, guys. Mercury in Sagittarius is big thinking. It's a big mind, but you may sometimes put your foot in your mouth for whatever freaking reason. So watch what you say. Say what you mean what you say. Be careful that you don't exaggerate in your speech, in your communication with other people, because things can get kind of blown out of proportion. For real. On a different note, but maybe sometimes a similar note, Mercury Sagittarius is about the search for meaning. And if you guys know something about Mercury, this is all about the mind. It's our speech, how we think, but also how we get around. It's travel, communication, stuff like that. And when it comes to Sag, it is fast. It is big. It's expansive. It's vast. This is the ponderer. This is the questioner. This is the philosopher. This is, are you a cop? Like, why are you asking so many questions? Why do you want to know everything? It's wise. It's meaningful. It's not just the information. Gemini wants to get all the knowledge and the facts, but Sag wants the wisdom. It wants to experience. It wants it to be expressed, you know? I will say Sag is a sign that is more optimistic than most of the other signs. That's just kind of their thing. And it really is a quality of Jupiter. So it's my hope, it's my wish, it's my will that we all get that optimism, that spirit of Sagittarius, that we look at this week with a fresh set of eyes, that we don't take ourselves too serious with the Sun Saturn square, serious enough to be tough, whatever that means, because it can be something different to everybody. And then, take the virtues of Sun and Saturn and Neptune and then apply it optimistically with Mercury and Sagittarius. That we speak meaning, we speak with purpose, and that we encourage ourselves and others with our words, and that we make sense of things. And another thing I want to say about Mercury and Sag, which I think is really meaningful, is that meaning is literally subjective. So it's really important that application is placed over theories. Like what's really going to work, what's going to drive a result. Because think about it, guys. If Jupiter is expanding, which is the Sagittarius energy, and then you put Mercury in Sag, how we think is expanded. That's overthinking, right? Are y'all tracking that? That's overthinking. Try not to overthink shit right now, guys. Mercury's in Sagittarius. Sometimes simplicity is the best way to go about it. Okay? To find that meaning, But you don't need like signs and symbols and, fucking angel numbers to tell you to be disciplined. You see what I'm saying? Just do what the fuck you know you need to do with Mercury and Sagittarius. That's what I'm saying. Stop overthinking shit. That's a message for me, from me, for me, and then from me to you. Hello. Venus. It's a Sagittarius party this week, guys. I'm telling you. Mars moves out of Sagittarius, Lilith moves into Sagittarius. Mercury and Venus and the Sun have been chilling here all along, and the Sun's going to move too. So we're going to take it bit by bit. So we got Venus here too, man. It's a good time to be alive. Venus and Sag is litty. And she makes aspects too. She make aspects too, guys. She is going to make that square with Saturn and then apply to the square with Neptune. Her square with Neptune comes next week. You see what's going on, Fire Family? Are you catching on to the rhythm? You see in the big picture? I'm seeing it. I'm feeling it now, Mr. Krabs. Hope you feel it. So Venus and Sag, what is Venus? She's what we like, what we love. She's how we're related to each other. Whoa. You ever just swing your arm and knock over the floor water? Okay. Table got a blessing. Anyway, Venus and Sag is about having a party. It's about celebration. Venus likes expansion too. Would you believe that, Fire Family? She does. She does like expansion. Is she crossing over the Sun this week? Not quite. But do you see how she's applying to the Sun also? I don't know if anybody's seeing that. But she's going to cross over the Sun. We talked about this a couple episodes ago, guys. But one of the main focuses for the energy right now, and this really does continue into 2026. So I think it's important to be mindful that the Sun, Mars, and Venus are kind of locked in together right now. It's kind of stellium time if you really think about it. Some people say that's not a stellium. They don't count the Sun, but I say, man, fuck y'all. How you not going to include the Sun? That's crazy. That's literally crazy, Fire Family. I'm going to say it, and I'm just going to be honest. That's fucking crazy. Everybody has their own opinions or whatever, and you can make whatever rules you want, man, but that's crazy. In my book, the Sun counts in a stellium, and so does the Moon and Mercury. And, why are you going to be exclusive? I say a conjunction could be 360 degrees, Do what you want to do if it's not going to hurt somebody. It's a stellium in my book. That's all I'm trying to say. So what does that mean, guys? Good time. Sun Mars, Sun Venus. You can spin this web whatever way, but ultimately, the energy right now with the Sun, it's got this beautiful glow with Venus. It's got this, relatability, this uplifted sense of peace and poise and openness. That's Venus. We're going to see that as we turn the wheel into 2026. And then we're also going to see the Sun and Mars connected. And then later in a second, we might talk about Venus and Mars connected. But with the Sun Mars, that's this passion, this sense of drive and powerful, purposeful, passionate energy. It's just a want to express and to take action. That's the Sun Mars. That's about getting after it. You understand? You see it. You're living it. We're all living it together. It's really beautiful. The same way there's that new moon this week, Fire Family, on Friday night, where we have this new beginning for the month in the lunar cycle. When you're looking at these planets, these arms on the clock connecting, that is the beginning of another new cycle. And there's so many going on right now. The new moon, the Sun Venus, the Sun Mars, the Neptune Saturn. So many new cycles are beginning. And then also Neptune Saturn are starting with Aries too. So guys, Uranus and Gemini, I hope you guys are, I don't mean to sound vague, with Mercury Sag right now, but this is big picture, huge timetable shift. This is for my magicians out here. Time to really be in a space of openness, because the new phase, these conjunctions, they really reflect openness, a new beginning. So do with that what you can. When Mars moves into Capricorn, things do get a little bit more serious. So this is where we gotta kind of switch tones and understand the other energies that are being expressed. Because while there is a stellium and there is a lot going on in Sag, Mars just got out of here. Mars is in Cap now, and Mars actually really does like Capricorn. And our planet of action and drive is locked in right now. It's focused. And you're going to see Mars in Capricorn for about 6 weeks. That's usually how long it takes for Mars to go through a sign. Mars is officially going to move over on January 24th. So, yeah, I was right. About 6 weeks. Enjoy it, guys. Take advantage of Mars in Capricorn and get organized and get into action and ultimately expand your limits by putting in the work. The formula really is more and then better and then new. It's about increasing your output and then turning up a notch. So do pay attention, though, that Mars is breaking out of the square with Neptune. Did you guys clock that? Did you see that? We experienced that at the end of last week when Mars was about 29 Sag, square to Neptune. And, that had a crazy effect on a lot of people's energy. Some of us may still kind of feel this today because it's still technically a square. But while Mars in Capricorn is the goat, it's the angry goat. If you really think about it, it's the goat that's pissed off. It's like, what do they sell at the gas station? The angry goat? Or is it the horny goat? I don't know. But either way it goes, that goat is like charging up the mountain. That goat is geeked up. That actually might be Freaky Billy. If you really think about it, he is booming up the mountain. All right. So that's Mars in Capricorn. But as Mars moves into Capricorn this time, I think Freaky Billy did take one of those pills because he looks a little geeked. Does this make sense? I don't know if I'm making any sense. Made me laugh though. But anyway, Neptune is the cloud, right? It's the wide ocean. Why is Freaky Billy in the ocean? Somebody might relate to that. Pictures worth 1,000 words. I'm trying to explain archetypes. Here we go. Mars square to Neptune. We're breaking out that. So Freaky Billy's sobering up. It's kind of what it looks like. He's about to lock in. Okay. Does this make any sense? Let's talk about Jupiter. Because Jupiter is next, and Jupiter conditions everything in Sagittarius. Jupiter is retrograde too, guys. And Jupiter in Cancer right now is expanding our connection with our emotions. It's expanding our heart space. Jupiter is the king of the gods. So this is all about creation, and any good god should be good, right? Does that make sense? So Jupiter was supposed to be like, if you really followed the mythology, the one that takes care of the people, takes care of humanity. It's like we love Jupiter and Jupiter loves us, right? That's how it's supposed to go. Jupiter was supposed to be the sky god. So yeah, we love Jupiter because Jupiter brings us the good qualities of life, or at least like they would associate that with Jupiter. Does that make sense? Are y'all feeling that? And Jupiter takes about a year. to move through a sign. So you see now we're moving to higher time frames. So this last year of Jupiter Cancer, and I think we really have still many more months to go, it really has made more peace and a sense of comfort and ease for a lot of us, which was very much needed in contrast to the, fast and all over the place type of nature of the Jupiter Gemini that we had the year before. So I find that Jupiter Cancer talks more about the intuition and our inner guidance, and to really learn to let that speak. Because at the end of the day, this life is really truly a mystery, and everybody has their own derivatives and directions and truly purpose. So how are you going to find that, Fire Family? The answer has to be within. It sounds so obvious, but I find that's what the conversation leans towards. And learning to trust one's inner guidance, it might be easier said than done. I'm not going to suggest that it's hard because it might be the easiest thing to do, truly. It sounds natural. It sounds like it could be effortless. It sounds like it might need to be effortless. Maybe it's supposed to be. I don't know. These are just ideas. But I find that Jupiter exists in every chart. That's what I found. I did the research. We looked at the data, Fire Family, and we found, will blow your mind. What we found is amazing. Jupiter exists in every chart. Would you believe it? That surprised me. Like, I couldn't believe. So take a look and see if you might be able to find Jupiter in your chart and see if it might speak to you and help you find a connection with your sense of meaning and optimism and faith within life. See if it helps you connect to your spirit a little bit more powerfully. Jupiter is making a square right now to Chiron, and that's what's calling out to me. Do we want to talk about it? I don't know. Maybe we should talk about it. We've got Jupiter making trines to Saturn, and it looks like there's a few aspects. Jupiter making an in conjunction to the sun. We're breaking out of that one. Sometimes you can get lost in the data, Fire Family. That's one thing to think about. I see that, with the square to Chiron, it's talking about bring on the healing. Bring on the healing and bring on the release so we can move forward. This is about feeling our feelings, and maybe that's one of the things about the square. Let me talk about that. That's like trusting the inner guidance. Yo, this makes a lot of sense. This is a crazy story. I know somebody needs to hear this. Like, look at this square from Jupiter to Chiron. And you got to think about, because Jupiter is retrograde, even though it's a little bit past Chiron, it's moving back into the square. So we're getting, like, this is going to be a new conversation that we're going to see, is that in order to trust the inner guidance, you have to be willing to look within. It may be difficult to look within at times because there is pain. And that's what the conversation leans towards today. But the best way to really deal with it is to focus on it. Because not just the body keeping the score, the body has the record of what it needs, and it speaks. Every cell has information. So that's what I'm seeing with this one is like, if it's painful at times, you got to recognize that presence within yourself. It really does lead towards expansion. It leads towards advancement. It leads towards a higher path. That's what's coming through with the Jupiter Chiron square. Let's talk about Saturn, Pisces, and these outer planets. And then I want to focus your attention towards the North Node. Okay? And let me know if you guys are enjoying this style of video, because sometimes I find I just got to switch things up. I don't want to cut it short. Saturn is in Pisces, and Saturn tells us how we build within life. And Pisces is the final sign. And of course, this deals with letting go and dissolving. Saturn in Pisces for the last couple years, Fire Family, has been really deep and emotional, and at times overwhelming. And a lot of people may feel that it's isolating. Disillusioning is a really powerful word because, and it sounds negative, doesn't it? I don't mean for it to be negative. So I want to make you aware that the word disillusion talks about releasing an illusion, but that may be how a lot of people are feeling, in the sense that their reality may not meet their expectations or whatever they are dreaming about. Saturn Pisces. Some people find it the exact opposite, that their reality is what they're dreaming about. Like they're living the dream, and maybe we're all living the dream on some level. So we would do well to be consciously aware. Okay. And really, I said this before, and I'm going to say it again. We're going to see this more and more as Saturn and Neptune do their thing and start to connect, Fire Fam. But making your spirituality real. That's what Saturn and Neptune is about on some level. You could talk about it all day and find a million things to talk about through these archetypes, but that's what I'm seeing. And if you want my personal spin on what I mean by that, it's like, it doesn't really matter what you believe, man, but just practice it. Practice it so we can see if it works. You gotta really put the action towards it. You gotta put the Saturn on the Neptune. Don't put the Neptune on the Saturn. That's an amateur move, man. Put the Saturn on the Neptune. Okay? Clock that. All right. So ultimately we gotta have some boundaries for our empathy, for our feeling. Pisces is the final sign. I know I said this before and you've heard that so many times, but what does that mean? This is about dissolve and let go. And ultimately, that might be like a dream or maybe that final transition we all go through. But I'm even talking about that energy of sacrifice that we know within our lives. We all know it. Sometimes it's an unconscious thing for us, the sacrifices we do. Let's use, for example, being a mom. If you were a mom, chances are you knew that you were going to be a mom. You brought a kid in, and as you take that role on, it becomes part of your identity. You start doing those things, and it's like you don't even really think about the sacrifices at times of what your role is. Do you clock what I'm saying, guys? So, sacrifice, how we live our life, the choices we make, how we interact with other people, our sense of boundaries. That's really what Saturn is trying to show us on a level when it comes to how we relate to everybody, our space within the world, our belief systems, our obligations, our sense of morality and duty. Like Saturn and Pisces, guys. Pisces also, I've been thinking lately, is, of course, the dream. So it talks about what is inspiring us. And that's what I think Saturn and Neptune want us to think about, is what are we actually inspired by and how do we bring and build that into the world? That's the conversation today, especially with the North Node. So we're going to hold that thought and come back. Let's talk about these couple outer planets, and then I'll send you guys on your merry way, and you're going to have a beautiful day and week. You've got Uranus retrograde in Taurus, and, I've had it with the bullshit, Fire Family. I don't know about you guys, but that's really the conversation today. You got to love Uranus and Taurus, but man, can we get on with this? Uranus and Gemini is going to be a trip. I'm not trying to hate, man. It was a pun. I was looking for it. Do you guys remember when the people were walking on milk crates? They were like stacking milk crates up and falling off of them. That shit was stupid. So fucking stupid. People got so hurt and so injured. Would you believe that that happened right around, I believe, Mars and Uranus and Taurus? Uranus was definitely there. I mean, it was a stupid trend. People still like pray to God, Goddess, the Great Spirit, or science that shit doesn't happen again. People need to stop doing that. I've had it with the bullshit. I don't know about you guys, but anyway, Saturn in Pisces, Uranus in Taurus, retrograde. When we talk about these outer planets, Fire Family, they're going to refer more to the cultural, generational, global occurrences. Okay? Uranus is really about growth. It's about the sudden change, the upheaval. If you really want to get woo, and I'm always pretty much down to do that, as long as it's Saturn Pisces, that Uranus is about the evolution of consciousness. It's about raising vibration. It's about elevation. It's electric. And Uranus and Taurus for the last 7 years has been elevating the earth. It still is elevating the earth. Everything is a consciousness, fire family. So when you take your consciousness and put it in the earth, you start to live more balanced within the ecosystem. And think about it from an even more mundane level. When you put your consciousness more within yourself, you become more with the human race. You start to individuate. When you start to get less with the program of the environment and your name and your age and your nation state and whatever religion or lack thereof or class division, and you start really focusing on the reality of your internal state and how that reflects, and you start peeling back the layers, you're like, whoa, I really am just all energy. I really just am life. I'm a human and we ballin'. We're all humans. And I really do feel that there is like a big revelation. It sounds like a simple maxim. Everybody knows they're humans, right? It sure doesn't look like it. I don't know if you guys saw me crash out in my last video as I was doing the live and just talking on the state of affairs. I usually don't take these videos to get into the current events, but when you're talking about the collective shifts, you have to. And man, oh man, you can definitely see some people don't really care about humanity. So let's be the ones that do. That's my message today. That's the message today. I see Uranus and Taurus just made the opposition with Lilith. If you want to be more technical, the better way to say that was Lilith made the opposition with Uranus, because Lilith moves a little faster. So she's like the second hand to the minute hand. Hope you guys are seeing that, because if you can conceptualize that, if you're seeing that vision of the clock, I guarantee you know how to read astrology, and you'll be really good at applying it into your life, because those are the fundamentals. But anyway, I digress. Uranus and Taurus is retrograde right now, so we are going to see the angry bull backing that ass up for a minute. How long is a minute? Until February 10th, perhaps 2026. It's for some months. The bull is throwing that shit back. Okay, but anyway, am I yapping yet? Uranus brings instability because of the changes. And when we talk about mundane astrology, Taurus is our need. So it's food, economy, supply. Oh man, even collective values. So Uranus and Taurus is stirring some of that shit up, man. And it's your job now to be calm within the storm. That's my message. That's why I'm telling it to you. That is what Uranus is showing us. After the 10th of February, of course, Uranus will reverse and then move its way through the shadow and go into Gemini for 7 years. And we'll get more into that as we go. So make sure you are subscribed, because it's going to be a very interesting time. Gemini is the trickster. It's the twins. It's information, technology, and that's going to elevate. If you guys see the AI revolution that's going on right now, if you see how much technology is evolving, that's what's going on. And it's going to only continue to accelerate. So you will see this. At that point, we'll already have a lot of those other changes and ingresses. But Neptune in Pisces is about a 14-year transit. It's going to be a Neptune Pisces week like it's been for a hot minute. And that's just going to say, are you living the dream? What are you imagining? How do you connect with the collective conscience? It's really worth pondering. You probably are pondering it with the aspects to Neptune already, man. That life is a trip, fam. Are you like? Can you pinch me? Am I dreaming? Are you imagining all of this shit? Perhaps. Don't get that far out. Don't get that far out. Neptune in Pisces is about our culture. If you really watch Neptune, because it is so far, that's what it's about. It's about culture. And these last 14 years have been about evolving empathy. There have been illusions in our world that exist around illusions. What? Are you serious? Yeah, whether it's religious or political or just a culture having this artificial idealism where we can Photoshop and edit ourselves, and we're watching everybody's highlight reels on social media, and we're comparing ourselves to superficial non-existent states of being and feeling like we're falling short because the dream is so dreamy, and how the fuck are we ever supposed to manifest it because it's a vision of, unnatural perfection. It's fucking weird. That's Neptune and Pisces. Let me explain the fog we're in. Do you see what I'm saying? Man, Neptune will get you geeked up. That's why the goat kind of looks like, I think Freaky Billy would hit the goddamn galaxy gas. Holy shit, Fire Family. I gotta drink some water. Goodness gracious. Jesus Christ, hail Lucifer. Freaky Billy's geek. Oh my goodness. Neptune and Pisces, you gotta love it. You really gotta love it, Fire Family, but I can't lie. There have been times where I'm like, can we wrap this shit up, bro? Can Neptune get the fuck out of Pisces? And Saturn, too. Why are we so impatient for? Uranus and Taurus. I'm gonna take the blame. Fuck the scapegoat. I will develop the quality of patience and learn to enjoy Neptune and Pisces. All right. But do understand, guys, there is going to be a shift. And keep in mind, once again, this planet is about a 14-year trek through each sign. That's over 150 years, if my math is correct, for the whole loop around the zodiac. So, it is a slow, subtle shift. And I think this domino effect, it'll just kind of build. Aries Neptune will build off of Pisces Neptune. Okay. And Aries bursts out on the scene. The Ram, he said, yo, this is my space. No, Tom, I'm jumping in and I'm going to do my own thing. And I feel like the spirit of the world, the spirit of the nation is going to be reinvigorated with fire. Excuse me, the element of fire. You know? Let's talk about Pluto because I think that really brings us into that discussion. Pluto is in the sign of Aquarius, Fire Family, and it takes even longer to move around the sun, like about double, 250 years. Pluto is a slow excavation of what's hidden, okay? And it brings things up to the surface. It brings the little things into titanic proportions, and then the big things, it makes them little and hides them, obscures them. It's really interesting how Pluto works. If you look at Pluto, Fire Family, it has a moon, and this is really important. And the moon is almost as big as the planet itself. And these two things kind of orbit around each other. So why does that matter? The Pluto energy is polarity personified. We can't evolve without polarity. And in some way, this reflects the purpose intrinsically of Pluto's energy. And Pluto in Aquarius, Fire Family, this is about evolving humanity. When you think about the sign of Aquarius, it is the water bearer. It's the one symbol of the zodiac that is a human. And that wasn't chosen coincidentally. You got to think about why the humans projected that symbol onto the stars. Crazy stuff. Pluto will be here for about 20 years. It's only at 2 degrees, so it's relatively new. This was like the first year, 2025, that Pluto really was in this bitch. We're done with Capricorn Pluto. In the last Pluto retrograde, we finished those final degrees, Fire Family. So now it's Pluto Aquarius full speed ahead. Okay? And only time will tell what the next 20 years are going to present, but the struggle, which I think is also a very Pluto thing, because when you think about evolution, it's a word that can roll off the tongue and it can go through your ears and it can sound like blah, 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 blah. I know sometimes even the way I talk, maybe that the timbre can trance people out, but our family, evolution is pretty fucking hard. If you really think about it, it's necessary. If you think about the concept of it, it is that slow process of strengthening and changing and ordering towards more fortitude and complexity and presence. And you've had growing pains. You remember when you were a kid and your bones hurt because you were growing fast. Evolution really be like that. And when we look at this collectively, we start to see the state of affairs in the world. Pluto represents power. It's a really good way to put that. And Aquarius is freedom. And it seems like the world just wants more freedom, not less. And I think that's the side of history I hope to be on, the side of more freedom, not less. Pluto Aquarius. The truth is coming to light. Power to the people. Liberty, justice for all. You got Pluto making a trine with Uranus too, guys. Uranus is retrograde. So we're going to see this energy kind of separate a little bit. It's still present, but it'll lock back in. So Pluto, Uranus, trine at this time, it's a collective uprising. It's a mass awakening. It's power shifting and decentralizing. It's systems destabilizing that are built on plutocracy or power control or tyranny. Internal and external, as above, so below. So another thing I want to talk about is Lilith and Sagittarius. This is why I needed this video to be a little bit longer, guys, because there is a lot to talk about. I don't want to fill your ears with empty calories and just fucking yap, but there's a lot of data. So look at Lilith. This week, she starts at 29 degrees, and at the end, she's at 0 degrees of Sag. She's done with Scorpio. And it's about time, of course. What does that mean? Time will tell. The Scorpio is the sign that Pluto rules over. So these last 9 months, if you really think about this retrospectively, they've been very dark for a lot of people, man. They've been really dark. You know, things have been exposed in the collective consciousness, the media, the news, the state of affairs right now, without even being specific. But you talk about war, cruelty, tyranny, shadows, deception, corruption. It's Lilith and Sagittarius. And I think it's worth talking about Lilith because not many people do or know that this is a thing, but she relates to the moon. Her lunar apogee specifically. The lunar apogee means the furthest distance the moon can be from the earth. And this geometric point, it moves very slowly across the zodiac as well. So we can track this in the transit and look at this in the chart. So that's what we're pointing towards right now is Lilith. Okay? And the moon deals with the people. She's the flow of life. The black moon, it's really a deeper need in the collective, guys. And in your chart, it's a deeper need within you. Okay? So Lilith in Scorpio in the last 9 months has really exposed our need to feel powerful and in control. And that's the baseline. And how that plays out, that's the story of the last 9 months, right? And these next 9 months are going to be about Lilith and Sagittarius. And she really is about putting our beliefs to the test, our sense of meaning and purpose. That's Sagittarius. That's the journey. We've been focused on this all month, guys. It's really important to think about Sagittarius as an archetype because it really deals with your worldview, your belief systems. That's philosophy, theology, spirituality, you know, and then the concept of your virtues. Like, what do you think is good or bad? Again, you really do turn to Jupiter for this. And right now, Jupiter's Cancer. And Cancer is our emotions. A lot of this stuff is within, but at the same time, you know, you have to be honest with yourself emotionally too. You just got to be honest with yourself. And then, because again, I'm not here to proselytize. I hope that's abundantly clear, Fire Family. I don't really think it matters necessarily what you believe so much as that you actually genuinely practice it. Because if you don't put it into practice, you may not actually get to see the results of what you believe. And then it's the feedback loop of results, the consequences, which will help you learn whether or not what you believe, it's like science on some level, whether your belief really holds merit. And you got to be willing to kind of move through the moon sometimes in your emotions or your personal biases to kind of look at things and be like, okay, but does that really play out the way that I intend, hope, believe, have the faith? You know, because I don't think blind faith is very virtuous. I mean, it could be. It's really context, you know. Again, we're pretty far out here now. You know, Jupiter beyond, we get kind of far out there. And I don't think everybody's going to agree on everything always, but that's the thing about Lilith and Sagittarius is you got to be careful that your shadow doesn't make you believe your own bullshit. That's how I take this. That you keep it really real with yourself. Okay. The North Node, I'm going to end off on this because really, at the end of the day, there's a hierarchy of these things in the chart. And I've been reading charts for years, and I'm blessed to say I've been able to touch on hundreds of people's charts. I'm pushing, I think, clearly like about 1,000. If my math is right. I don't want to over exaggerate, but I've read a shit ton of charts. Thank you guys. Really do appreciate it. So I say that to say, not to toot, I'm tooting my own horn a little bit. I really does feel good to say that. Like, yeah, hell yeah. Hell yeah, man, as a Leo. You love to put the spotlight on yourself. If you guys only knew. 1/12 of you knows exactly what the fuck I'm talking about, man. But anyway, I digress. I say that to really say that I really think, in my professional opinion, the North Node of the moon is the most important part of the chart. So we're going to let this be last, end off on a high note. The North Node is in Pisces, and she is going to be here for a hot minute. She's going to be feminine in the sign of Pisces. She's a beautiful woman, and she reflects the need to chase our dreams. Okay? That our direction, our movement right now as a collective is predicated on our imagination. Okay? And Saturn is right next to Neptune. Once again, is saying, dream of a better world. Don't put limits on what you want to experience and have in this world, but then really break it down into steps, create it and make it real. This is one of the most optimistic and beautiful signs I think you could ever see in all of astrology, that dreams are meant to come true. You do have to think about the South Node in order for this to make sense, in order to have balance right here, okay, guys? The South Node is in Virgo. She has to be if she's with the North Node in Pisces, right? And that's an earth sign. She deals with service. She deals with love. Okay? It's about manifesting dreams with balance and harmony. That's what's really about. And this is a little bit more of this week, but guys, do see that you're going to have Mercury making a square with the North Node on Sunday. So here's how I'm seeing this week, Fire Family. Let's review as I send you on your way this week. The North Node, the whole theme right now is saying you got to believe in yourself and know that you can create something. Believing is preliminary before you start imagining. That's a bar. Do you see what I'm saying? You got to believe so you don't put limits on your creation. Then you imagine. And then you believe in what you imagine. And then you take the practical action. Whew. Hello, Fire Family. Stay lit. Stay positive this week. A lot of changes going on. You've got the sun moving into Capricorn. And that is going on Monday. You've got the new moon on Friday night. You've got Mars fresh into Capricorn all week. And you're going to see Lilith move into Sagittarius on Sunday, the same day that the sun is square to Neptune and Mercury is square to the North Node. You're going to see that this is going to be a really interesting week. From a big picture perspective, things are going to get a little bit more serious as we switch our perspective to Capricorn and drive our action through a more structured paradigm and pattern. And then with these bigger shifts like the sun and Neptune and Mercury, North Node and Lilith, Sag, you start to think deeper, like, where the hell am I really going? And what do I really want my life to look like? And I think on a big note, this Jupiter Neptune energy, it's really big on being grateful. It's really big on being grateful because before we go out and hit this next conquest, look at where we've gone. Look at what we've got already. Look at what's been provided. The worst thing about Sagittarius that I could ever imagine, and I'm going to speak on this because I don't want to see this, is, spending all your time looking for something that you already are. And the grass always being greener, right? So let's not do that. But let us do enjoy the journey. Do appreciate the pursuit of it all. So Fire Family, I love you. I appreciate you for watching this video. Thanks for taking the time to look at this. Do leave a like, subscribe if you're new, tune back in for 132. I'll see you soon. Blessed be.